Downey Jr., after a 5-year break, is returning to Marvel, but before he did that, he actually turned down Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Hollywood's golden couple, or the industry's biggest PR illusion. While fans have worshipped their playful social media banter, behind the scenes, things aren't as picture-perfect as they seem. From Robert Downey Jr. shutting Ryan down to Deadpool's own creator walking away in frustration, the cracks in Ryan's carefully curated persona are starting to show. And it doesn't stop there. More actors are speaking out about what it was really like working with him and Blake, and the stories are messier than anyone expected.
Especially because many of us agree that Ryan Reynolds was the leader in this. I believe that. I believe Ryan Reynolds was the leader and is the leader in everything that she does. So should we be compassionate? And the answer is no, my friends. We obviously should not be compassionate. That's not how this works, okay? When you get caught doing something that is purely evil, the task is not on the people who caught you doing that thing to extend forgiveness to you when you have not asked for forgiveness.
But the real shocker? Ryan didn't just ruffle feathers on Deadpool and Wolverine. He allegedly went all out to sabotage Justin Baldoni's career in the most ruthless way. How did he get away with this for so long? And more importantly, why is everyone speaking up now? Buckle up, because this Hollywood takedown is just getting started. Robert Downey Jr. turning down a Marvel role? Unheard of. But when Ryan Reynolds personally reached out to convince RDJ to appear in Deadpool and Wolverine, the Iron Man legend didn't even hesitate before shutting it down. No negotiations, no maybe later, just a flat-out no. And according to insiders, this wasn't just about scheduling or creative differences. This was personal. Ryan Reynolds reportedly had huge plans for Deadpool and Wolverine, aiming to make it the biggest Marvel crossover since Avengers: Endgame. He wanted big names, surprise cameos, and a movie packed with legacy characters that would send fans into a frenzy. And what better way to cement Deadpool's place in the MCU than by bringing back the man who started it all, Tony Stark himself. Reynolds, ever the strategist, allegedly reached out directly, believing his charm, and a hefty Marvel paycheck, would persuade RDJ to return to the universe he helped build. But instead of excitement, Downey reportedly shut him down immediately. No interest, no let me think about it, just a hard pass. And what makes this even more shocking? RDJ has never publicly ruled out a Marvel comeback. In fact, over the years, there have been whispers that if the right project came along, he might be open to reprising Tony Stark, especially with Marvel heavily investing in multiverse storytelling. So why was Deadpool and Wolverine such an instant no? One insider claims that while Downey respects Hugh Jackman, he wasn't thrilled about the way Deadpool and Wolverine was shaping up, especially with Ryan Reynolds calling all the shots. The actor-turned-producer has built a reputation for being intensely hands-on, sometimes to the point of frustrating co-stars and crew members. It's no secret that Reynolds wields massive creative control over Deadpool projects, and while that's worked in his favor before, it's also led to some serious behind-the-scenes tensions. With reports of writers clashing, actors being sidelined, and Reynolds reworking scenes to fit his vision, many wonder if RDJ's refusal was a silent statement, that he didn't want to be part of something that could turn into a disaster. Another theory? Downey simply doesn't respect Reynolds enough to work with him. While Ryan has built his career on his signature humor and comedic timing, he's still not in the same league as RDJ when it comes to acting range or Hollywood legacy. Downey, who has worked with the best directors and actors in the industry, might see Reynolds as a one-trick pony. Charming, yes, but not someone he'd go out of his way to collaborate with. And let's not forget the Deadpool effect. While RDJ played Tony Stark with a mix of humor and depth, Deadpool's brand of comedy is pure fourth-wall-breaking, over-the-top absurdity. Would RDJ really want to return to the MCU just to play a joke version of Iron Man in a movie that prioritizes self-aware humor over storytelling? Probably not. Whatever the reason, one thing is clear. Ryan Reynolds wanted RDJ in his movie, and RDJ wanted nothing to do with Ryan. And with more actors coming forward about what it's really like working with Reynolds, it seems like this isn't just a one-time snub. It's a pattern. And RDJ. He walked away with his legacy intact. While Deadpool and Wolverine might be a massive success, it'll always have a Tony Stark-sized hole in its cast list. When the man who literally created Deadpool decides to walk away from the franchise, you know something isn't right. Rob Liefeld, the comic book legend behind the Merc with a Mouth, has been one of the biggest champions of the Deadpool films. Until now. Despite helping to shape the character that made Ryan Reynolds a box office powerhouse, Liefeld has officially distanced himself from Marvel, and more importantly, Deadpool and Wolverine. And his reason? Frustration with how things are being handled behind the scenes. For years, Liefeld has been outspoken about the Deadpool movies, frequently giving fans updates, dropping hints about new projects, and hyping up every new development. But as Deadpool and Wolverine production ramped up, Liefeld's tone suddenly shifted. Instead of excitement, he started criticizing Marvel and hinting at serious behind-the-scenes drama. Fans noticed his lack of enthusiasm, and it wasn't long before he made his position crystal clear. He was completely done with Marvel's version of Deadpool. The biggest red flag? He wasn't even invited to the premiere. That's right, the man who literally gave Deadpool life was shut out of the film's biggest moment. No red carpet, no VIP access, no acknowledgement. Nothing. And when fans pressed him about it, Liefeld's response was brutal. He called out Marvel for disrespecting the creative forces behind their most successful characters and implied that his vision for Deadpool was no longer welcome. So, what really happened? Insiders say Liefeld clashed with Ryan Reynolds over the creative direction of Deadpool, with Reynolds allegedly pushing the character in a direction Liefeld never intended. While Deadpool has always been a fourth-wall-breaking, R-rated anti-hero, Liefeld reportedly felt that Deadpool and Wolverine was leaning too far into absurdity, turning the character into nothing more than a walking joke machine. And that's not the only issue. Reynolds has built a reputation for controlling every aspect of Deadpool films, from rewriting scripts to making last-minute casting decisions. Sources say that Liefeld, who envisioned Deadpool as a character with real depth beneath the comedy, felt like his input was being ignored. Eventually, it became clear. This was no longer his Deadpool. It was Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. And if Reynolds was running the show, Liefeld wanted nothing to do with it. Now Liefeld has cut all ties with the franchise and isn't looking back. But his sudden exit raises serious questions. If the very man who created Deadpool is walking away in frustration, what does that say about the direction of the film? And more importantly, is Ryan Reynolds taking Deadpool too far? Ryan Reynolds may be the face of Deadpool, but not everyone who helped build the franchise is still along for the ride. Marina Baccarin and TJ Miller, two of the biggest names from the original films, have spoken out about being cast aside, and their stories are raising serious questions about what's really going on behind the scenes. For Baccarin, who played Vanessa, Deadpool's love interest, her sudden disappearance from Deadpool 2 was nothing short of shocking. Fans were furious when her character was killed off almost immediately, reducing her role to nothing more than a tragic backstory to fuel Wade Wilson's arc. But here's the kicker. Baccarin wasn't just blindsided by the decision, she was barely even consulted. In interviews, she admitted she had no idea why her role was slashed so drastically, and that she had been hoping for more development in the sequel. Was this just poor storytelling? Or was Ryan Reynolds quietly pushing her out of the franchise? And if you think that's bad, TJ Miller's story is even worse. The comedian, who played Deadpool's bartender sidekick Weasel, has been brutally honest about his fallout with Reynolds. According to Miller, Ryan's on-set behavior was completely different from his charming public persona. Miller claimed that during Deadpool 2, Reynolds suddenly started treating him like garbage, making him feel uncomfortable and unwelcome on set. At first, Miller thought it was a joke. After all, Deadpool's humor is built on relentless insults. But as time went on, he realized Reynolds wasn't joking. He just didn't like him. Miller's experience got even messier when he was completely cut out of the franchise with no warning. And while some might argue it was due to Miller's own controversies, the actor himself insists that wasn't the case. In fact, he believes Reynolds personally made the decision to remove him, proving just how much power he has over the series. The pattern here is hard to ignore. Marina Baccarin, TJ Miller, and even Deadpool's own creator, Rob Liefeld, all pushed aside, all raising red flags about Reynolds' control over the franchise. So the question remains, is Ryan Reynolds just a dedicated producer, or is he turning Deadpool into his own personal playground, at the cost of the people who helped build it? Ryan Reynolds might play a wisecracking hero on screen, but behind the scenes, his Hollywood power plays are anything but funny. And no one knows that better than Justin Baldoni, the actor-director who found himself pushed out of his own project, allegedly thanks to Reynolds and Blake Lively's ruthless maneuvering. It all started when Baldoni, best known for Jane the Virgin, was attached to direct a highly anticipated project. But just as things were moving forward, something shady happened. Baldoni was quietly removed from the film, and suddenly, Ryan Reynolds' name started floating around. Industry insiders whispered that Reynolds, who had been circling the project for a while, wanted full creative control, and Baldoni was an obstacle. According to some sources, Reynolds and his team used their influence to make sure Baldoni was out of the picture, clearing the way for Ryan to step in. But it gets worse. Blake Lively, who has her own Hollywood connections, allegedly played a role behind the scenes in ensuring that Baldoni wouldn't just lose the project, but that his reputation in the industry would take a hit. Was this personal? Or just another case of a power couple making sure no one gets in their way? The industry is no stranger to these kinds of backroom deals, but what makes this case stand out is how silent Baldoni has been about it. Normally outspoken, he hasn't publicly addressed the rumors, but sources close to him say he's been deeply frustrated and betrayed by what happened. And can you blame him? One minute, he was steering a major Hollywood film, and the next, he was erased from his own project, allegedly because Ryan Reynolds decided he wanted it instead. At this point, a clear pattern is emerging. Reynolds isn't just a charming Hollywood A-lister, he's a strategic player who makes sure things go his way, even if it means pushing others out. And when you add Baldoni's story to the growing list of people who have been cast aside, Rob Liefeld, Marina Baccarin, T.J. Miller, and even Robert Downey Jr. refusing to work with him, it's hard not to wonder, is Ryan Reynolds quietly becoming one of Hollywood's most cutthroat players? For years, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have been Hollywood's golden couple, effortlessly maintaining a flawless public image through witty social media banter, carefully curated interviews, and high-profile friendships. But behind the scenes, the whispers are getting louder, and more celebrities are finally speaking out about the power moves, shady industry tactics, and not-so-charming side of Ryan Reynolds. First up, Martha Stewart, yes, the queen of lifestyle herself, recently threw major shade at Reynolds during an interview. When discussing A-listers who are obsessed with their own image, she smirked and name-dropped Ryan, calling him exhausting, and implying that his entire public persona is a carefully constructed act. And let's be honest, Martha doesn't just say things for no reason. She's been in the industry long enough to know who's real and who's playing a role. Coming from her, this wasn't a throwaway comment. It was a direct shot at Ryan's reputation. Then there's Candace Owens, who dropped a bombshell on her podcast by revealing that an insider close to Deadpool and Wolverine confirmed that Reynolds was behind the Justin Baldoni situation. According to Owens, Reynolds and Blake Lively aren't just a power couple in the celebrity gossip sense, they have real influence in Hollywood, and have allegedly been pulling strings for years to ensure nothing and no one stands in their way. Owens didn't stop there. She hinted that Baldoni isn't the first rising star to be pushed aside because Reynolds saw them as a threat to his dominance in the industry. And then there's Blake Lively, who, while staying mostly out of the headlines, hasn't exactly dodged the criticism either. Insiders claim she's been just as involved in Reynolds' career decisions, making sure that their power in Hollywood remains unchallenged. Some even speculate that her behind-the-scenes influence played a role in sidelining Baldoni. If that's true, then this isn't just about Ryan. It's about a power couple willing to do whatever it takes to stay at the top. At this point, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Actors being pushed out, creative minds walking away, and Hollywood insiders slowly starting to peel back the curtain on who Ryan Reynolds really is behind closed doors. If Reynolds was just a tough producer, that would be one thing, but the number of people quietly distancing themselves from him suggests something much bigger is going on. For years, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have been untouchable. Hollywood's golden couple, the ultimate PR machine, and the internet's favorite power duo. But with more and more industry insiders speaking out, their carefully curated image is starting to crack. And now, the question isn't just whether Ryan Reynolds is playing dirty behind the scenes, but whether he can survive the growing backlash. So far, neither Ryan nor Blake have publicly responded to the accusations, and that silence is telling. Normally, Reynolds is quick with damage control, using humor and self-deprecation to shut down controversy before it spirals out of control. But this time, the stories aren't just coming from fans or tabloids. They're coming from major Hollywood players. Robert Downey Jr. wanted nothing to do with him. Deadpool's own creator walked away, and multiple co-stars have hinted at shady behind-the-scenes behavior. Hollywood has seen this before. An A-lister who flies too close to the sun, thinking they're untouchable until the industry turns on them. The same thing happened to Ellen DeGeneres, James Corden, even Johnny Depp. Once the whispers start, they don't stop. Could Reynolds be next? And then there's Blake Lively. While she's managed to stay out of the direct line of fire, her role in Ryan's career moves is now under scrutiny. With insiders claiming she had a hand in the Justin Baldoni situation, questions are swirling about just how much she's been involved in ensuring Ryan remains at the top. Will she get dragged into this controversy, or will she find a way to distance herself before the fallout gets worse? At this point, Ryan has two options: address the controversy head-on, or hope it blows over. But with Hollywood increasingly turning against him, staying silent might only make things worse. If more co-stars and insiders come forward with similar stories, this could be the beginning of a full-blown career crisis. And the biggest question of all, is the world finally seeing the real Ryan Reynolds?
So we've now moved within this lawsuit, which just shows you how frustrating this must be for the ex-CIA team to be like, find me anything